According to economist Dr. Vanus James, Monday's reading of the National Appropriation Bill 2024 lacked real measures to stimulate economic growth. He believes the increase in the minimum wage is a thinly veiled attempt to grow the economy without ensuring that systems are in place to support higher wages. More in this report from Kandace Jackson.
Finance Minister Kandace presented a budget under the theme Building Capacity for Diversification and Growth without establishing the systems needed to achieve that goal, according to economist Dr. Vanus James. He believes the finance minister tried to mislead the population by boasting of a 3% GDP growth rate in the first quarter of 2023 and a projected growth rate of 2.7% for the next fiscal year.
Those projects stand almost no chance of moving the growth rate up to, say, 6%, which is what you would need to be doing to even keep up with China. And remember, if you're growing at 2.7% and the North Atlantic countries are growing at 2.7%, by 2030, they are somewhere near 60,000.
Yes.
And your 28,000 would be far from the goal.
Despite the finance minister's messaging of diversification, Dr. James argued that the $59 billion budget was not designed to stimulate the economy.
But $8 billion to education. But for what? For local education, to educate local people. Now, okay, we know that we're not even doing the best job there. But let's say we're going to redouble our efforts there. But that is far from being adequate if you're talking about developing the economy. You've got to be talking like Britain and the US and China and those places, education for export.
While assessing the current state of the workforce, Minister Imbert quoted data from the Central Statistical Office, which indicated that unemployment rate is 3.5%. However, Dr. James explained that the data is misleading the public because it does not address underemployment.
You might work all day in retail, low productivity activity, and development is about moving people from those low productivity activities into high productivity activities. If you listen to the minister, that understanding of development, even in terms of the way he dealt with the minimum wage, is completely missing.
The finance minister announced a $3 increase in minimum wage, raising it to $20.50 per hour to take effect in January 2024. This change affects over 190,000 people working in minimum wage positions. Dr. James says the figure equates to a stumbling block in the drive for economic stimulation.
But that would be somewhere in the region of at least 15 to 20% of the employed labor force. They're undereducated, they're employed in low-level activity. A large chunk of them are in what we call elementary occupations, especially here in Tobago.
Dr. James explains that until the government works with the private sector and provides the necessary incentives to improve productivity in the workforce, the increase in minimum wage will not yield a positive result in the economy.
Then what you're really doing is you're giving a loan to the minimum wage earners in anticipation of some kind of productivity growth later, or some windfall to fund it that you could kind of hand out to the businesses to pay this increased cost.
Kandace Jackson, Tobago Updates Television News.